Hello everyone, I am Vivek Kumar Mishra. I am a structural teacher. I will be teaching you structural analysis for the time being, and today's topic is truss analysis. So what is truss? Truss is a structure that carries its load in form of axial forces. What are these axial forces? Axial forces are those forces which acts along the axis of the members. Axial forces may be compressive or tensile in nature. So what is the basic form of a truss? Basic truss is a triangle. This is the basic form of a truss. If we go on adding triangle like structures, then we get to form more complex trusses. Okay, so you may have seen trusses on railway platform or foot over bridges. It's actually a structure arranged in members arranged in triangular fashion. These are this is the foot over bridge where we walk, and this is the members which are arranged. So this structure is known as truss. Okay, truss is also known as pin jointed structure. Okay, so what we need to analyze in truss is we are interested to find forces in the members of this truss. Okay, throughout the chapter we will be dealing to find forces in members of this truss. That forces may be either compressive or maybe tensile. But before analyzing the trusses, we need to make some assumptions. Okay, there are always some assumptions in the structure. So what are the basic assumptions? Basic assumptions in truss. So there are three assumptions. The first assumption is that all joints are ideally hinged. What is meant by joints? In any truss, suppose this is a truss, these are the supports. Joints are the points where two or more members meet each other. So this is the joint, this is the joint, this is the joint, this one, this one, this one. These are the joints. So these joints are assumed to be ideally hinged. Ideally hinged means they have no any displacement or no any vibration, which is actually an ideal condition. Okay, the second assumption is the self weight of the member is neglected. Why it is neglected? Because truss are designed to carry heavy loads over it. So if a truss is designed to carry a load of about suppose 10,000 kg of load it needs to carry on a daily basis, and these members are having its weights maximum up to 4 to 5 kgs, then compared to this 10,000 kg, this 4-5 kg amount is very small, so it can be ignored or it can be neglected. Hence these assumptions works right here, that the self weight of the members may be neglected. Okay, The third assumption is that the loads fall or act on joints only. What does it mean? The loads fall on the joints only means if we have a truss structure like this and loads are falling on it, then it is considered that loads will act only at the joints, at every joints, and no load is supposed to act in between the members. This is wrong consideration. Okay, loads will always fall on the joints. Okay, this is the third assumption. And we already know that truss always carries axial force, means if this is a truss, then forces in the members are always like this. Okay, equal and opposite to maintain the equilibrium of the condition. It may be compressive or tensile. Suppose if we take this truss member, then forces are acting along this direction, so it is basically a compressive force. If forces are suppose in this member, if forces are acting along this direction, so it is a tensile nature of force. This is a compressive nature of the force. Okay, so what we get to know that axial forces are the only resisting forces in truss. Okay, now we come to truss analysis. Okay, how to analyze the truss. So basically, to analyze the trusses, we only need to find the member forces. Okay, so there are two ways in which the trusses can be analyzed, or we may say that there are two basic methods. Truss analysis involves only two basic methods to determine the forces in the members. The first one is the method of joints, and the second one is method of section. These are the two methods from which we can determine what amount of force and what is going to act in a particular member of a truss, and what is the nature of the force, either it is compressive or it is tensile. Okay, so where do we apply method of joints and method of sections? There are certain conditions. If question asks to find the member forces or forces in members in all the members of the truss, then there we will use method of joints. And if the question asks to find the forces in any particular member or selected member of the truss, then where we will use method of section. Let me illustrate it with an example. Okay, so if this is a particular truss, okay, these are the supports, the loads are acting over here. So the questions may be asked in two ways. Okay, the question may ask find forces in all members, or suppose it is A, B, C, D, this one is E, F, G, H, in all members. So here we will use method of joints. Okay, and suppose it question asks us to find forces in few selected members such as ED or FH or any few 2 or 3 members, then there we will use method of sections. Okay, is this clear? So for now there are only two methods to use. We will see it with the help of few examples. Okay, but before we jump to the examples, we have a basic rules to find zero force members. What are zero force members? Those members of the truss which carries zero force are called zero force members. Suppose this is the truss, a load is acting over here, and these are the members. So due to this load, reactions are generated at the supports. Suppose this is A, this is B, this is C, and this is D. These reactions are generated RA, and this is RB. Okay. Then these reactions and this force, external force, will try to distribute itself among the members of the truss. But sometimes it's happened that some selected members does not resist any kind of force, or it may be said that there is no any kind of force which is introduced in some of the truss members. Okay, so these kind of members are called zero force members, means those members of the structure or those members of the truss which carries no force are called zero force members. So how to find zero force members in any given structure? How can we determine that if there is a zero force member or not? So there are rules. There are how many? There are two rules to find. So two rules to find zero force members. Okay, there are two rules. What is the rule 1? Rule 1 says that in any truss, if two members are meeting at a joint and no any external force is acting on the joint, then the two members are zero force members. Okay, let me introduce it with an example. Suppose this is a basic structure. This is a basic structure. These are the supports, and here we have a structure. So external load is acting over here. Due to this load, reactions are generated over the supports. So in this case, if we look at this joint, this particular joint, then through this joint two members are connected, this one and this one, and we also see that at this point no load is acting. Okay, so these two members are zero force members, means that forces in this member are zero. Okay, so this is the example of zero force member of the first kind. Now rule number 2. Okay, if three members are meeting, three members are meeting at a joint of which two are collinear, then third member is zero force member. Okay, let me illustrate it with an example again. If we have a truss like this, okay, these are the supports. okay, and this is a basic truss. So if we see at this joint, then here three members are meeting, 1 2 and 3, and out of these three members, this one and this one are collinear. Okay, so this will be a zero force member. Okay, am I clear? If again, then if this is a truss, then this and this at this joint, we see that this and this member are meeting, of which this member and this particular member and this member are collinear, and this is a third member which is joining at this joint. Then this third member is a zero force member. Okay, this is the basic concept for the truss. Now we will get to see some of the examples, and we will try to apply these concepts over that examples. Okay, so that's all for now.